She's a liar. I'm sorry, but she's a liar.
Is going to go down as possibly the most corrupt attorney general that we have ever had serving the United States of America.
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe you're asking such a question.
Why do you have difficulty promising to preserve?
Pam Bondi walked into Parliament expecting a spotlight. She left with a public takedown so brutal it's now part of the record. What began as a routine hearing spiraled into a high-stakes showdown, with senators ripping apart her evasions and grilling her on scandals she couldn't or wouldn't answer.
Gets tackled to the ground for asking questions at a press conference. This is not the country I know or the values I believe in. Can you confirm you will not allow any conduct like what is alleged to continue at the DOJ?
I'm not going to talk about anything that's alleged. What I will talk about...
By the end, she wasn't defending the Justice Department. She was defending loyalty oaths, foreign money scandals, and silence where the truth should have been.
Pam Bondi, the former Attorney General of Florida, faced hours of questioning, most of which revolved around her refusal to say Trump lost.
Is that the incoming president will use that loaded weapon, that immunity, to commit crimes through the Department of Justice. And for that reason, it is all the more important that we have an attorney general who has the independence, the strength, the intestinal fortitude to say no.
She barely had time to adjust the mic before Adam Schiff came in swinging. He didn't start with pleasantries. He went straight for the jugular, reminding everyone about that Supreme Court ruling in Trump vs. United States. You know, the one that basically hands the president a get-out-of-jail-free card for anything done through the Justice Department. Schiff called it a loaded weapon, and he's right. In the wrong hands, it's political dynamite.
The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail. Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible.
Then he dropped the real test. Would you investigate Jack Smith just because Donald Trump told you to? Simple question. Yes or no. But Pam? Oh, she danced. Suddenly it was all "I haven't looked at the file." Like that wasn't the point. Schiff wasn't asking for a case brief. He was asking if she had a spine. And in that single dodge, she showed her cards. Loyalty to Trump over a straight answer right out of the gate.
It has to do whether you have the independence to say no when you must say no. And you can say this is hypothetical, but it is not hypothetical.
Schiff wasn't asking in a vacuum. He was testing whether she'd push back on a president who'd already gone on record saying Jack Smith should go to jail. Her dodge made that answer obvious without her ever saying it. Schiff wasn't letting her off the hook. He switched targets. What about Liz Cheney? Any factual reason to investigate her? Again, just a yes or no. And again, Bondi ducked, calling it hypothetical. Please. The only thing hypothetical here was the idea she'd ever say no to Trump.
Are you prepared to say today under oath without reservation that Donald Trump lost the presidential contest to Joe Biden in 2020?
President Biden is the president of the United States.
Then came the easiest truth test in politics. Can you say Trump lost the 2020 election? She couldn't do it. Couldn't even bring herself to say there wasn't massive fraud. Instead, she went off on some side story about Pennsylvania. Anything but the actual answer. In real time, she was proving Schiff's point. This wasn't independence, it was obedience. Coming right after the court's ruling on presidential immunity, her refusal to acknowledge basic election facts sent a chilling signal about how easily the DOJ could be turned into a political weapon.
I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the department.
Do you see any ethical basis to destroy evidence in the January 6th investigation? Then why can't you answer the question? Why can't you say, I commit to this committee, we will never destroy the evidence in the January 6th investigation? Why can't you give...
By now, everyone could see the game she was playing, so Schiff cranked up the pressure. This time, it was about January 6th and whether that evidence would stay safe if she got the job. Easy opportunity to look strong, right? Instead, She wrapped herself in lawyer talk about following the law and checking with ethics officials. No straight answer, just more of the same sidestep. And the crazy part? This wasn't some obscure policy question. This was the investigation that half the country is watching like a hawk, and she still couldn't just say, yes, it stays. That silence said a lot more than any statement ever could.
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe
Why do you
you're
have
asking such a
difficulty?
question.
Why do you have difficulty promising to preserve evidence at the Department of Justice? Why is that a difficult question?
I will follow the law.
And this wasn't theoretical. Past Trump appointees had already faced accusations of interfering with key evidence, which made her refusal to give a firm commitment all the more glaring. Let's be real for a second. If you think the evidence should be preserved and foreign money should be investigated, tap subscribe right now, hit like, and drop "Preserve the Evidence" in the comments. Now keep watching, because what comes next will blow this wide open.
This is not the country I know or the values I believe in, and I hope that colleagues on both sides of the aisle will agree with that.
But Bondi's tightrope act didn't end there. Senator Patty Murray stepped in, and from the moment she opened her mouth, the tone in the room shifted. She didn't waste time with fluff. She laid it out bluntly. This wasn't the country she recognized, and the Justice Department under Bondi's watch was shaping up to be a political shield, not a pillar of justice.
Confirm that you agree that this administration should follow court orders?
We will follow court orders, Senator. The entire administration will follow.
Then Murray hit her with the simplest, most revealing question of the day. Would Bondi commit, on the record, to follow court orders, even if those orders went against Donald Trump's personal or political interests? It was the kind of softball any independent attorney general could crush without thinking. But Bondi froze. Instead of a clear yes, she tiptoed into vague legal jargon about reviewing specifics and evaluating obligations. In other words, she sidestepped. Again.
Can you confirm you will not allow any conduct like what is alleged to continue at the DOJ?
I'm not going to talk about anything that's alleged. What I will talk about.
The exchange landed like a gut punch because it stripped away any plausible deniability. This wasn't a policy gray area or a hypothetical. It was a direct test of whether she'd follow the law over Trump. And in front of the cameras, she chose to blur the line. For the senators in the room and the millions watching, that moment said everything they needed to know.
I appreciate that.
Intentionally,
It's
that
very
has
hard
anything
for those
to do-
recipients on the other end across the country.
Can you
to
give me
get a
the
phone
details of
interview.
that grant?
I can absolutely do that, and my staff will get that to you, but those are two critical ones that I just wanted to ask you about today.
Then Senator Jeff Meckley came in swinging, zeroing in on allegations that foreign nationals bought their way into a private dinner for Trump's top crypto investors, some openly bragging about spending millions to sway U.S. policy.
I want to know if, when the president held his dinner for 220 individuals who purchased the most of his meme coins, were there foreign interests attending that dinner?
Senator Patty Murray, and she didn't waste a second. She opened by painting a picture that should have made any attorney general squirm. A Justice Department replaced by corruption, intimidation, and whatever Trump wants. Career officials fired for doing their jobs. Grants illegally canceled. Citizens detained overseas without due process. Even a U.S. senator tackled the ground for asking questions. It was a laundry list of chaos, and Bondi was sitting right there front and center.
Former DOJ attorney filed a protected whistleblower complaint accusing Deputy AG Emil Bove and senior DOJ leadership of defying court orders, including through, quote, lack of candor, deliberate delay, and disinformation, unquote. The complaint also accuses this administration of firing the whistleblower for, quote, telling the truth to the court.
When Murray brought up a whistleblower accusing Bondi's own deputy, Emil Bove, of defying court orders and firing someone for telling the truth, Bondi's response wasn't a pledge to investigate. It was a pledge of loyalty. She flat out said she'd run through a wall for Bove and another Trump-aligned lawyer, Todd Blanche. That wasn't a slip. That was her planting the flag, loyalty over law, right there on the record.
Receive the necessary attention, expertise, and resources, and to give the office a strong, independent voice within the Justice Department and federal government. Now your department wants to fade that into the OJP, which violates the intent of the law.
Murray then turned to the 300 public safety grants Bondi's DOJ had abruptly axed. Programs for rape victims, foster kids, drug enforcement, and asked if she knew what she was cutting. Bondi admitted she had no idea about at least one critical sexual assault program. No defensiveness, no shame, just nothing. And when Murray reminded her that the Office on Violence Against Women was legally required to remain separate, Bondi openly said she wouldn't follow that mandate, brushing it off like an optional suggestion.
Terminated over 300 public safety grants that had already gone through a very rigorous and fair and apolitical application process with no explanation. This is funding to investigate and prosecute drug trafficking, to support foster care kids who experienced abuse or neglect, to expand access to forensic exams to prosecute violent crimes like sexual assault.
By the time Murray was done, Bondi wasn't just evasive. She looked like someone who came to Parliament to defend Trump's priorities, not the law. And every senator in the room saw it. Every camera caught it. The story had written itself before she even left the table.
Anything that's going to hurt violence against
Not
women.
my question.
It will eliminate
I'm asking, just for your information, Attorney General, in 2002, we codified the office as a permanent, separate, and independent office. So that you need to go back and take a look at that.
Honestly, it was like watching two Bondis in the same chair. Cool, confident, and full of answers when the questions were safe. Then suddenly clamming up the second Trump's money or foreign influence hit the table. And trust me, everyone saw it. Senators noticed. The press gallery noticed. Within the hour, headlines were basically writing themselves. By the time she walked out, it wasn't just that she dodged questions. She'd practically announced to the whole country exactly whose playbook she was running.